And away we go.
Yes, here we are again.
Hi, everybody. Joe Chaffee, Fios One News, Long Island and New Jersey.
And Joe Rayo, Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley. And Joe, we had a little bit of a break yesterday from this, but we're back. And
it is the second. We just finished the second to last day of summer.
Right.
Tomorrow's the last day of summer. What time does autumn arrive, technically?
9:56 p.m., I believe, is the...
on Saturday night?
Saturday evening. So really, Saturday is really the last day. It's only the last couple hours of Saturday do we make the transition to fall. So during the daylight hours, it's still summertime officially.
Right.
So
Sunday's really the first full day of autumn.
Absolutely.
I've been just kind of saying that tomorrow's the last day of summer. Fall arrives on Saturday.
Right.
We'll kind of make it a generic time. You know, any time during the day works for me.
According to the meteorologists, of course, summer ended on the 1st of September with the arrival of meteorological fall or autumn.
Well, one of the things, this was definitely the second half, not so much the first half, but the second half from, say, mid-July right up through the last week has been probably one of the most hideous summers ever in the history of hair.
Yes, it's been terrible. I really don't remember. Well, the only other summer that I thought was just as atrocious as this, and it really was more because of heat, not humidity, was the summer of 1988. And maybe a close second to that was 1993. But I mean, in terms of humidity, this is just absolutely horrendous.
Well, I pulled up a couple of charts here, and for those of you who are interested a bit more, I put two posts on my website, which you can get to from Facebook if you'd like. One talking about the area in general and one specifically for Long Island, so you can check these charts out closer and a little more commentary. But the charts are showing the number of hours, literally the number of hours during the summer months. So we're not even counting the first part of September here, because then if we did, these numbers would go up even further. But these are the number of hours where the dew point was above 70.
Wow.
Which is really hideous.
Yeah.
And the first point I have up here is in northwest New Jersey now, Andover, up in Sussex County.
Right.
There's not a huge data set here. It only goes back to a little bit before the year 2000. So we don't go as far back as we do with the others. But you could see that at least over the last 18 or so years, or 20 years, you've got most summers where in northwest New Jersey, and you would expect this because of the elevation and everything else, where 400 hours seems to have been the peak of 70-degree dew points. Well, this year we did double that. We did 800 hours.
Crazy.
Which is insane.
Crazy.
We'll take another look. We'll go to Kennedy Airport. Now here we have a data set in Kennedy that goes back to it looks like almost 1945 or 6, and this was for Kennedy Airport,
which at one time, of course, was Idlewild.
Idlewild.
Yeah.
But here at Kennedy, almost 1,000 hours with dew points above 70. In days, just divide that by 24. You're talking about 42 days, or roughly 41, 42 days. If you lumped all those hours together and sat through it all, it would take you 42 days to get through nonstop 70-degree plus dew points, and it's the highest in this span.
It's crazy.
And there have been spiky years, but this one's just like a real.
It stands out like a sore thumb.
It's like it does seem like it's an anomaly, and for Poughkeepsie, where there's a bit of a data gap between 52 and about 73 or 4, I'm not sure why. Here this is another interesting graph because, Joe, there are spikes along. You get these spikes every 10 or so years,
right?
And there seems to be more variability there. So I'd be curious as to why that is. We had over 400 hours, but it didn't really spike out like Kennedy did.
Right.
That was just insane. And for White Plains, we had a spike over 600 hours back in 2000. I believe that's 2005, 5 or 6.
Yeah,
probably 5. And then we had a spike this year that's just about equal to that, of over 600 hours. And we can go on and on with this because islip got to over 800 hours as well. So it was the coast, and it was more north and west, and then kind of a gap in the middle there with the Hudson Valley sort of sitting in relative dryness, but still oppressive.
Right, and this summer, I think, at least from my perspective, was, all right, we'll get the next one. And when I say by it, I'm talking about during the summer, there were more than a few times when it looked like we were going to have a nice, lovely zone of cool, dry air from central and northern Canada, which periodically and sometimes drops down during the summertime from Canada, crosses through, gives us a few days of lovely weather, low humidity. And there were more than a few occasions when the models were saying that was what was going to happen. And then just the last minute, all of those cool, dry air masses kind of like sheared off to the north, never got down as far as our area, and we remained in the mucky, humid weather for another few more days. And after a time, you keep saying, "Well, we'll get it next time. We'll get the next one," and we never did. And we were waiting all the way back since early August, and here we are now, more than halfway through September.
And now, of course, with autumn arriving, the autumn fans are hoping that we get into an autumn pattern of progressively cooler weather. We know, you and I both know, that it doesn't always quite work that way.
No.
It's rare that you get a year where things kind of go along smoothly. There's always going to be volatility. I think this front that comes through tomorrow night, it weakens. Most of the rain falls apart. It looks like it clips parts of the Hudson Valley and maybe northwest New Jersey during the early morning hours on Saturday. The vast majority of us will be asleep when this happens, and then done. And that is snow along the Canadian border, so it's getting cold somewhere, right?
What's going to happen? It's going to stay. It's going to remain atrociously humid and mild.
Let's not say
all
that.
the way through early December. And then all of a sudden,
no.
boom.
No, maybe this year we'll have something maybe a little more resembling what autumns should be like, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
I think Saturday's the better of the two weekend days. You get the high build, enough of the high builds in. I think that we should have at least some sunshine on Saturday, and we'll probably still make it up, I think, possibly close to 80.
So you think that area, that zone down over the mid-Atlantic, will start, trying to ooze back up here?
It might get close on Sunday. I'm thinking for South Jersey, maybe it gets as far north perhaps as 195 with a little bit of showers, and the rest of us sit in clouds for a good chunk of the day. But we've seen this a few times where the dry air comes from the northeast and clears out Long Island and northern areas of the Hudson Valley first, and then gradually works its way southwestward into New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania.
I mean, look at that. There's the high. The high ain't coming this way, folks.
No, it's going more east.
It's going to north and east of our area. I mean, what happened? Back in the good old days, you'd see a high building down from, let's say, Manitoba, then it crosses through the Great Lakes, and then goes through the Ohio Valley, comes directly overhead, and we get a few days of nice, lovely weather. All of these highs that we've seen from Canada this summer has taken the same track, the same route, north of the Great Lakes, cross Quebec, up to, let's say, northern Maine, and then out to the east over the Maritimes. We get into that northeasterly, kind of damp type of flow. We do get some cooler temperatures, but it's not that bright, sunny, low humidity type of weather pattern that we've been waiting for so many days now.
It could be because, it is because of the fact that you can't get those westerlies in Canada to come down far enough south, because we still have a bit of a ridge in the east. It's cold in Canada. We just can't seem to get these air masses to make the full plunge, since everything's getting deflected more to the east and to the south. By the way, this little hump in the isobars that you see northeast of Bermuda, northeast of the Bahamas, is something that is out in the Atlantic, and we could show it here on the satellite loop, this spinning low. This actually, Joe, this was all tied to the whole system that came about with Florence and the cold front.
Right.
And this piece is breaking off from another area that's up northeast of that. That's the one that the models are making into this tropical storm thing that just sits out in the Atlantic for 2 weeks and spins around.
Right.
But the one that's further south to the southwest here in the center of the picture is going to drop southward and then turn southwestward and westward. There is some kind of a weak circulation here. You can see it, there's dry air on the west side, so it's probably not purely tropical here at this point. The thing is, everything suggests that it won't strengthen as it moves westward. So other than the moisture field that might get into the southeast eventually, the models are certainly saying that this is not going to become a tropical system of some kind and start heading back toward the southeast coast of the U.S., because that's where it would wind up, given what's going on off the east coast. But again, there's no low there. There's no wrapped up isobars. We could always look at the Canadian to see if because the Canadian will spin. If we sit here long enough, the Canadian will start spinning us counterclockwise.
Exactly.
The first part of next week, we're going to have to contend with this front coming back. There's a warm front. Then it looks like we've got a cold front for midweek, slightly cooler air behind it, and then maybe a stronger front late next week. When we're sitting here a week from today looking at this might bring, the models keep insisting on a reasonable shot of cool air coming down for the very beginning of October. So and this front, by the way, makes it pretty far south, down into Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, those are the guys and gals who are the specialists in looking for the long-range outlook, 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 days out. They have over the northern plains and into the Great Lakes something like an 80 to 90% probability of below normal temperatures as we move on toward the end of next week and on into the following week. In the meantime, everywhere else in the country is either near or above normal, including our own area.
Well, we're going to be on the edge of that, so that's the problem. When you look at the upper air, you look across Canada, there's this fast westerly flow. You've got a pretty strong, for this time of year, you got a fairly strong vortex there sitting in Hudson's Bay and over in western Labrador, and that pulls out. But then you get this deep trough that tries to drop in, several. But see, initially, it's all more to the west.
Right.
We have to wait until the very end of the month where we finally get this deeper trough coming into the east. So probably at this point, we would have below average temperatures for a couple of days.
One would hope.
There's just looking at the temperature anomaly, that would seem to be the case. I mean, you look at Canada here through the whole period. Just going back from the beginning, virtually all of Canada is sitting in below average temperatures.
Look at Greenland.
And Greenland also. Well, they get the little bubble of above.
Warm, yeah.
But, yeah, little waves there. Greenland is no tiny island, by the way.
Right.
But overall, through the 10-day period, Canada starts to change a bit toward the last 6 days because the ridge builds in the west. And you've got these areas of below average temperatures in the east. Hard to, like you said, we've been seeing symptoms of this until we get into the short range, and then everything just kind of flattens out and never gets as dynamic as what the model seemed to do. The Europeans on the same page, so I don't know. We'll see. As far as because curiosity gets me, and I didn't look. So why don't we just for laughs? Now bear in mind,
you want to go 384 hours?
Well, no, I want to look at the Canadian. Only because the Canadian, which has this notorious habit of spinning up everything. So the low that is out at 29 and 66 is the low that we looked at on the satellite.
Right. And
it kind of drifts it westward, but it weakens it. The one in the middle, the system that is up in the north central Atlantic, southeast of Newfoundland, part of it heads towards Ireland, and the other part
kind of splits off
and then just drops there in the Atlantic, and then it's also got something moving across the tropical Atlantic there, but doesn't really do too much with that. Yeah, it just sort of sits it out there. It moves it all over the place. I think it moves it in every single direction mathematically possible through for the 10-day period.
This is the Canadians' version of the old shell game that you get. That's still those guys on
pretty much
the table with Fifth Avenue or whatever. All right, guess where it's going to go now?
Right. Guess the shell. Get away, kid. You bother me. That pretty much, pretty much covers it tonight. There's not a whole lot. Let's go. Let's. Well, first of all, let's bring us up. One hit the wrong button.
Oh well, sorry about that.
No, that was me. I hit the wrong button. Let's go to the boards and see who's with us. Dennis Cassio, one of our regulars. David Schwartz. Barbara Bender is on. Camilla Pickney Price. The collective good evening to everybody who said Good evening. No, Dennis, we weren't on last night. I wasn't. I was feeling a little under yesterday.
He was under the weather.
Yes, I was. I was hoping that you wouldn't go down that road.
Whatever.
The water temp still above normal? Asked Mike Armando along the East Coast, or did they return back to normal after Florence? Actually, Mike, I did happen to look at this yesterday. They are actually still running a little bit above normal. They're probably cooled from being a lot more than a little bit above normal, but they're still above. They are still above average. And by the way, bringing them down to average would still be supportive of a tropical system. I just think that with that low out in the Atlantic, it seems like that there are other things going on in the upper atmosphere that are going to prevent that from developing much beyond what it is now. So we may be seeing it at its strongest point. David Schwartz, the Jets are winning 14-0 with 3 minutes left in the first half, and the Yanks are winning 6-5.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes. Well, the Jet part of the equation is, well, let's just leave it at that. And Jet fans understand what I mean by that. And as a Giant fan, I don't even have any business to speak at the moment, so we'll keep it there. David Schwartz, back for that Renaissance Fair this weekend. I think you're good. Saturday looks good. Sunday, I think at worst for you, the Hudson Valley should be just cloudy.
Yeah. And, have we mentioned anything about the WestCon weather conference that's going to be going on?
No, go ahead.
The Western Connecticut University is going to have a very nice, in fact, just wonderful convention. For all of you weather geeks out there, I don't have a link. I should put a link on my site.
Well, tell me what it is. I'll pull it up.
I usually would just go to Google and just type in Western Connecticut or WestCon weather convention. I think this is going to be. I was at the very first one. That was back in 2006. Nick Gregory. A lot of you know Nick. He is the longtime chief meteorologist at Fox 5 in New York. He is going to be the moderator and one of your friends. In fact, he's been on a number of times here from the National Weather Service. Bill Goodman is going to do a presentation.
In fact, I do have a link, and I'm going to put it up. I will put it up in the chat. I also just put up a... hang on. Let's put it up on here. So here's the WestCon link. And it's very easy to get to. It's right off, if I remember correctly, you can just write off 684 to 84.
Right, right.
And it's before Waterbury, so it really isn't that far.
And I mean, if you're a weather geek, that is the place to go.
It's a one-day.
It's a one-day thing. It starts, I think, at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning.
And that's on Saturday, September 29th.
29th. That's right. So not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday.
Okay. I have never been, and I was all set in going. And then I decided to take a vacation. I'm going down to Washington, D.C. on Saturday. Next Saturday,
okay.
So I won't be there at the conference.
Better luck next year.
Well, it almost happened the last couple of years.
You know what they might do? Since so many people
they should cancel it for me and have it the week later.
No, but what I'm saying is that, we've got such a large audience out there that whoever goes to the conference this year should say, hey, you know what? You guys ought to get Joe and Joe to be the moderators next year.
And we can simulcast it.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I simulcast my library talk last Sunday at the Deer Park Library, which, by the way, is on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. It's an hour and 33 minutes, and we talked about what's been going on hurricane season-wise. So we talked about Florence, but we also talked about other things going on in the long range, including the 38 hurricane anniversary. So you can take a look at that. In fact, I can easily just pull the link up. I'll put it up on the chat board for those who are interested, since I'm seemingly in a mood to put things up, put links up.
Right. I put up on my Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather, a link to the National Weather Service in Boston.
I've turned $15,000 into over $2.8 million in a very short period of time. In this webinar, I'm going to be showing you 3 easy to follow.
The right one.
Because they've had a drought where he is.
Okay, so hang on, folks. Okay, so the library chat, library talk is here. And by the way, and a number of you have asked me this, if you want us to come out to your local library, either one or both, if we can arrange it, let your local library know that we that we do these sorts of things or can do these sorts of things, and to contact us. I have my next one's at the Bayport Blue Point Library in Bayport, Blue Point, New York. which is a good place to have the Bayport Blue Point Library. And
out east.
Well, it's not that far east. It's actually near me. It's just east of Patchogue.
Right.
That's on Tuesday, October the 9th. And then I will be in New Jersey on Wednesday, the 17th of October, at the Springfield Library in Springfield, New Jersey. So
there you go.
All right, I think we got to say goodbye. So it's coming up on 9:52, and you have things to do.
Really?
Yeah, it went fast.
It did go fast. Well, at least we don't have anything major to talk about, and the next impending cataclysmic meteorological event. We
haven't booked it yet. Yes,
haven't booked it yet.
All right. FiOS 1 News, Long Island and New Jersey for me at the top of the hour.
And FiOS 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley for me. And now all of you can go back and watch the Yankee game or watch the Jets.
Right, Fitzgerald and Banson in the morning, Borer and Green in the afternoon, and Joe and Joe will be back tomorrow night to finish off what's been a interesting week. And by the way, for those of you who would like to read more or look at some other videos, I have a link up there to my platform on Patreon. It's on the chat here, so if you're interested, take a look and join the Patreon experience. I guess that's a good way of putting it.
Whatever.
Have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye.